But this Villanova team, very improbable. And covering Villanova along the way for Comcast Sportsnet Philadelphia, Neil Hartman was in Houston just hours ago, it seems like. And what a whirlwind it must have been, Neil. We appreciate you joining us.
Well, I'm still in Houston, so I haven't left. Our flight's going in about 45 minutes, but it was a heck of a night, and there's a lot of Villanova people still here in town. They're here at the airport. You see them. They're selling the championship shirts, and I think it's a night a lot of us will not forget for a long, long time.
Were those last few moments kind of frozen in time? I mean, how did the last, 30 seconds of that game feel in attendance?
So my press seat was in the end zone, but I moved down with about a minute to go courtside and was standing next to Jason Donnelly, who is a former assistant coach with Jay Wright, just moved up to an administrative job this year. So I was watching with Jason when Marcus Page hit that three, and I immediately looked to Jason and I said, so what happens now? And he goes, they have a plays in place for when it's under 4 seconds or over 4 seconds. And in this case, with 4.7 seconds to go, Jason knew the play that was going to be called. And it's a play that I'm pretty sure many Villanova fans have seen before, where it's Ryan Arcidiacono making his decision about what to do with the basketball. Do you penetrate? Do you pull up, take the jump shot, or do you dish? And there's no player this guy is the most selfless player. He is not a selfish player. He will do whatever it takes to win a basketball game. And most kids in that situation would shoot the ball, but he found the right guy at the right time to win the game for Villanova.
Neil Hartman with us here on the Sports Bash. So, Neil, people are asking today, NC State and Houston in 83, Duke, Kentucky in 92, Villanova, North Carolina this year. How do you rank those finishes? So how do you rank those finishes?
Well, look, I can put it this way. I think Villanova has been involved in arguably two of the top 5 NCAA championship games of all time. 85 was a remarkable, stunning upset, and this one was a stunning finish. I think Lorenzo Charles, to me, North Carolina State win will rank up there with what we saw last night. But to have a program do what Villanova's done in the most dramatic fashion, both occasions, I think puts Villanova in very unique company. The game last night was just an unbelievable game. I mean, Jay put it very appropriately afterwards, saying that it was one of the greatest games to be involved in, and I don't see how anybody could possibly argue that. It was just a joy to be there.
Yeah, and Neil, for people who really just kind of cling on late and, when the tournament starts, you're not watching the full season, looking back and talking to these kids afterwards, wasn't that something that made this team special, that they just didn't come flying out of the blue, that this has been about 4 years in the making for some of these kids?
Well, the senior class is the most successful senior class in Villanova history, 116 wins in 4 years. 35 wins this season, the most wins in a single season in Villanova history. So I think Ryan Arcidiacono and Daniel Ochefu have a lot to be proud of. And to cap it off with the national championship, they had an unbelievable career to that point, and now to win a national championship, these guys are going to be revered the way Ed Pinckney and Harold Presley and that whole crew, who, by the way, they were all there last night. That 85 team was on the floor moment again 1 year later to watch Villanova win a championship. But I think the heart and soul of this team, and everybody knows it's Ryan Arcidiacono. I mean, this guy is everything you would want a leader to do. He does all the right things. And one of the things that I found, Jay Wright over the weekend said, this team was so much and so enjoyable to coach because they listen. Some coaches, when you're talking to your players and going over things, it's going right over their head. They're not even listening to you. And these guys, Jay said, they listened and they executed what they presented to them. And as a result, they won a stunning national championship game.
Neil Hartman with us from Comcast Sportsnet. Neil, I think the thing maybe nationally that people don't realize sometimes, we know around here, this is a small private university, enrollment only around 10,000, maybe 12,000 tops. You know, every other school that was in that Final Four were big national powers, and here comes Villanova winning it all.
Well, I don't even know if the undergrad is 10,000. I think it's somewhere to 6 to 8, to be honest with you. But in this day and age of BCS and football dominating, to have this little school on the main line win a second national championship is a remarkable accomplishment. And the fact that they have been as powerful in college basketball, being a number one seed, being highly seeded in the NCAA tournaments. I know they've had their struggles, obviously, up until this year. I guess we can put that 2009 moniker away and not getting to the second weekend. That can be put aside now. But Jay Wright has done a unbelievable job at building a program. And I was looking this morning, because I'm a college hoop junkie. I love college hoops. They're in the preseason prediction for next year. They're preseason number 2 right now behind Duke. Because if you look at his program, you have Chris. Now, granted, Josh Hart maybe decides to go to the NBA. I doubt it, but let's just say he might. But you have Chris Jenkins coming back. You have Josh Hart coming back. You have a strong big man recruit in Spellman coming in, Maury Spellman. Then you saw what Phil Booth can do last night, where he had a career-high 20 points. You have Mikal Bridges, who is just unbelievable how much he has improved over the course of the year. This is and I didn't even mention Jalen Brunson, who was an All-American coming in out of high school.
Right.
So you have a program that you have developed. This is not a one and done. You had 2 or 3 really good players during a class. This is a program. And that's the thing that Villanova fans have to be really excited about, because what they did last night, they can do again. And I know that's crazy to say, but they can. They have the talent to do that.
Neil, give us a little bit more of the behind-the-scenes stuff that we couldn't see on TV. I mean, I noticed that Rowley was sitting next to Mike Fratello. I thought I saw Kyle Lowry there, or some of the other sights and sounds that you soaked in that just thought, oh, that was cool.
Well, I saw Rowley Massimino on a couple of occasions. And by the way, I'm very involved with Coaches versus Cancer in Philadelphia, and we're going to be honoring Raleigh Massimino on Saturday, our black tie affair, our gala at the Hyatt or the Bellevue on Broad Street on Saturday night. And all the 85 guys are going to be there. Obviously, it's going to be a huge Villanova celebration on Saturday night. I'm looking forward to it. But Raleigh flew in on a private jet just for the game. His health is not the greatest right now. And I was next to him when the players were on the stage and being interviewed by Jim Nance, and he was just beaming. Just watching what I'm sure brought back a lot of memories for him. And then backstage, when Jay Wright was in a golf cart heading towards his media obligations, he saw Raleigh walking with Mike Fratello, and he stopped the cart, got out, and gave Raleigh a big hug, and then gave Mike Fratello a big hug. I just got a handshake at that point, by the way, guys. I didn't get the hug. But no, it was a wonderful scene to see, 2 championship coaches embrace following another great win for Villanova University.
Neil Hartman's with us, Comcast Sportsnet Philadelphia, providing great insight and coverage on that Villanova run. And you had just mentioned a great story about the final shot. What was the atmosphere and some insight maybe from your vantage point when North Carolina hit that shot?
Well, what I noticed was they had these seat cushions that they gave out to the I think it was just the students. I'm not sure if everybody got them, but I saw about 20 of those seat cushions go flying in the air from the North Carolina student section, which was right behind that basket. And they were euphoric. I mean, they thought that they had come from 10 back with around 5 minutes to go in the game to tie the game, and I fully believe they thought they were going to win the game. Marcus Page afterwards said, we went into that huddle saying, okay, we have to play defense for 4.7 seconds, and then we will win the game in overtime. Well, I think it says a lot about Villanova and how poised they were to gather themselves, go back into a huddle, come out with a play. Look at how poised they were. I'm pretty sure the network showed Daniel Chefu was mopping the floor for the young kid. And I'm thinking to myself, you're about to have the biggest play of your life, and you're mopping the floor. And then when the play occurs, again, remember the story about Jason Donnelly. I knew exactly what they were going to do. I didn't expect him to hand it off or shuttle pass it to Chris Jenkins. But here's the thing. When you don't guard the inbounder, he's the most dangerous guy on the court. And he's trailing behind. Ochefu sets a midcourt screen, and Archie Diacono goes to the right. And when he's running behind him, you could see that play kind of developing. Now, what was remarkable to me was when that shot went up, I wasn't sure if it was good with the clock. And I know Jay Wright, I've seen the replays now. He was stunned, too. He didn't know, is that good? Is it not good? But you didn't have it just because the confetti literally came out the minute that ball went down and hit the floor. It was unbelievable how quickly that came out. And you just assumed it was good. I know they went to a review process and it wasn't close, but that guy who pushed that button for that, all that confetti,
he could have been in big trouble
coming down in a 75,000 seat stadium. You're not cleaning that up for hours to play an overtime session. So that definitely stood out to me. I was stunned that happened so fast. And then where my location, I was right in front of the all the Villanova supporters, their main section, and the players all just ran right over there. And some jumped into the stands, hugged their parents, hugged their friends. Jenkins did a whole routine, run around. It was pretty cool. I got to be honest. It was pretty cool to be there and see that, and the emotion of both the fan and the player, and then to watch the whole cut in the net ceremony. And the other cool thing was when they played One Shining Moment on the big screen. Everything stops. The players were on a riser at that point, and they all just stood and watched the whole 2 minutes or 3 minutes, however long it is. And that was the first time they saw Jenkins make that basket. And they just jumped for joy when they saw that shot to end One Shining Moment.
Neil Hartman with great insight and great observations from last night's national championship game, won by the Villanova Wildcats. Your location also, Neil, earlier in the day, sitting right next to one Allen Iverson, as you got to give him a little history lesson and remind him that it was you who asked the question.
Well, what happened there, first of all, when Allen sat down, there's probably about 15 of us at this round table. I imagine a lot of people went to Shaquille O'Neal, and Tom Izzo probably had a big gathering. I mean, there was a good number of media members, but initially there was about 15 of us, mostly from Philadelphia, sitting there. And when Allen came down, he saw me, and he goes, "Man, you've come a long way for this." And he was in a great mood and very reflective, humble, and I think really appreciate what has happened to him. And he has definitely matured from the 20 years I've been covering him, from 1996 when he was drafted, and I was at his draft, to now seeing his announcement going into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So you come kind of full circle in seeing this young guy. I know he dressed in hip-hop look yesterday, but I think he's a more mature 40-year-old man right now, and it was nice to see. As for the practice press conference, at the end of our session, he started talking about that the media was one of the reasons why he wanted to get out of the game. He never thought he would be pulling his jersey off and making it into the Hall of Fame. He said he didn't want to have to take that jersey off, so he never thought about the Hall of Fame because he never thought he would take that jersey off. But the media he felt was tough on him, and he then brought up practice. I said, "By the way, Alan, do you know that I was the one who asked that first question?" He looked at me and he goes, "You know what? I liked you, and I don't like you now. I didn't know you asked that question." And he went on, and we had a little exchange, but we did laugh about it, and it was nice to see him, and I'm really proud of how he seems to have changed a lot, and that's nice to see.
Neil Hartman with Comcast Sportsnet. Great job on recounting last night's moments, which I think people will be remembering, and then they will get a chance to relive it all on Friday when the Villanova Championship Parade is scheduled for Friday afternoon. And we appreciate you spending a couple of minutes with us. Have a safe flight home.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.